America. America. I'm over here watching some goddamn NASCAR right now. Because it ain't shit else on TV. I turn on the TV once a week, once every other week. I finally got some time to get on, got to watch some TV for a change. And it ain't a motherfucking thing on. So I said, I'm going to talk to y'all instead. Let's do a recap. Wasn't planning on doing this, but it's a lot going on. So we can have a recap. We can do a recap. Because there was a whole lot of capping going on this week. A whole lot of capping going on this week. So we about to talk about that. Oh, shit, that's a game with 72-77. Okay. Fieldhouse in Kansas. All right. Get your intellectual power right now. Intellectualpower.net. That brain food. Keep your mind right. But what's up with y'all? Kansas playing Arizona. Okay, 79-72. Okay, it's like a minute left. It's one thing I like this time of year. I'm not a big college basketball fan, but right as it come up into March and the games started getting intense, and it's March Madness time, I swear, like I work around like my schedule. I do as much work, like I'm writing my book now. I'm getting as much done with my book and documentary as I can because that first weekend of March Madness, when it be like a game on, like 5 games on at a time, I love that shit. Because I love competition. Love watching competition. Yeah, March Madness is cool. But, oh yeah, Skip, I remember, and March Madness be falling on 420 sometimes too. Man, please. Not 420. What else? That's something else that falls on 420. I forgot what that was. Anyway, my March Madness turns into a 420. It turns into a 420. Come on in here, y'all. Come on in here. What's up, Evan? What's up, Vernon? Yeah. Yeah, they doing the NBA like baseball. NBA ain't gonna be shitting about 10 years or less. Cause right now they're replacing the role players with all foreigners in the NBA, and they're trying to make it seem like the foreigners are the best players in the league, and they're not. They may put up some good numbers, but numbers ain't good basketball. But anyway. Let me see here. There we go. I don't acknowledge 420 is Hitler's birthday. 420 is Luther Vandross's birthday. That's the 420 I recognize. 1,000 kisses from you. Well, I could be wrong. Check that out. Verify me. Is it Luther? I think I'm dyslexic. I think it's Luther, but I'm dyslexic. I could easily be wrong. I think it's Luther's birthday. 1,000 kisses from you. Yeah, it's for Hitler's birthday, but Hitler, I don't like talking about Hitler. You know why? Because the shit that I'll say is going to piss a lot of people off because I went a lot deeper into his history and it changed my opinion of who he is. I still think he's a degenerate, murderous, thug, ain't shit person. I don't agree with his means to what he did. But his motivation behind the things leading up to that, I'm like, okay. If somebody is, running the country, they're gonna do all kind of crazy shit. But that's not my fight. I'm never gonna talk about that whole Holocaust, World War II shit, because that is not my fight. I have my granduncles that fought in World War II, fought valiantly, so I support America, Jack. I don't get into other people's politics. That's other people's politics. I deal with here, homie. I deal with here. And plus, talking about other people's politics get you in a whirlwind of trouble. I am not going to be on nobody's Mark Lamont Hill shit and Candace Owens. Hell no. You niggas is getting all fucked up over other people's politics. Yo bad. But back down to what we talking about. Yeah, Angela, you know what I'm talking about. So we're going to get into Umar and everything. This has been a week where Cap has been called out. I told you this is a 9 of hearts year. So information, so people and things are coming to a head. The truth is coming out. Truth is being revealed all across the board. And people could either roll with it or not roll with it. But the shit's happening. You dig? Put my weed away that we can get started. Put my weed away. Put my weed away. Put my weed away. Put my blunts away. There we go. We about to get started. Got 122 in here. So that means I should have 122 likes. You dig? 122 in here means I should have 120 likes. You did? So this is what we're talking about today. This is why I got those 3 on the thumbnail. I got LeBron on the thumbnail because that shit he did with Stephen A. Smith was just cap. That's some shit that could be done. Anybody who got real issues with somebody like on that level, you handle them issues in the face to face. You don't go around putting your kid out there to the wolves and then have some performative art at the Staples Center while the game is still going on with some shit that happened months ago. If it was that bad, you would have called him when it happened. That's the first point. Then when it comes to the Cameron part, I'm gonna go in detail of all 3 of these. Cameron, Red Grant called him out because he said some situation with Cat Williams, like he's talking about how he body slammed Cat Williams and all kind of shit. Red Grant called him out, but Cameron's been getting called out by a lot of people. He had to apologize to Chad Johnson for capping and doing too much. Now he's going at Jim Jones. That brother is going at everybody. What's up, New York rappers? What's up with y'all old ass? What's up with old ass New York rappers? What's up with these old ass rappers? Shit. Yeah, put one up in the air. Yeah, Cameron, no. He gave a fake apology to Chad Johnson. It was a I apologize, but. So, no, it wasn't really an apology, Baltimore bully, but what can you say? And here we go. So, there we go. Yeah, looking at you, Melly Mel. Yeah, these New York rappers starting to look real corny. And then, who's the other person I got up in my thumbnail? I drew a blank. Chat room, help me. I got third person up on my thumbnail. Where is it? Who's the third person I have on my thumbnail? I have I have Cameron, LeBron, and I got the third person on the other side. Who is that? Who is that third person I have on the right? Umar. 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 Umar got called out by his daughter for not raising. And I'm not going to get too much into that because when I heard Umar's response, it's very, very logical. I don't, I don't have a baby mama for a reason, but I know I've dealt with countless situations to where brothers have a baby with a woman and the relationship with that woman is so bad, they can't have a relationship with that child. I know that happens. I'm not saying that that's Umar's situation. I don't know Umar's situation, but I'm just giving you guys that I do understand these things happen. But since we're at Umar, we're going to start at Umar, then we're going to go backwards, all right? Well, Umar is the prince of Pan-Africanism. And he's somebody who's rightfully so, I think he's a smart person. I think he has very intelligent ideas. And I think, he's worth, he has an ego, but that's a good thing. I'm never going to begrudge anyone who has an ego. People with big egos don't bother me, As a matter of fact, I tend to get along better with people with overinflated with big egos than I do with people with no ego or little ego, because I don't want to hear nobody going around crying, talking about how the whole world is out to get them and this and that and shit. I don't like that. So I'd rather deal with somebody who has a big ego than not. But with that being said, back it up. Yeah, Umar is one of those. The reason why I put him up here is because, like, what happens with Pan-Africanism. If you notice, there's a similar line between Pan-Africanism, the people in the Pan-African movement, and what's going on with Umar. Somebody who's always talking about home and the black family and always in other people's relationship and what they should be doing. And I don't like this person because they had a baby with that person and they married this person. And that's a constant thing. And that's okay. But when people from your home come calling you out at that situation, we're going to look. Why? Because you're always the first to speak on somebody else's home. And I think that's fair. Because I don't judge people. Like, I'm married, but look, divorce is real. Just because somebody got a divorce don't mean that they weren't good at the relationship or anything wrong. I don't judge people who've gone through divorce. And I don't judge people who've never gotten married. I don't judge people who don't have, whatever your thing is your thing. Everybody got a thing. And everybody got a hurdle to jump over in this life, in this thing we call life. Everybody got a hurdle that they're going to have to jump over and cross. All of us. And what's a hurdle to me is nothing but a step to you. And what's just a little step to you is a major wall for me. And this is true for all of us. That's why I don't get into the judging part of it, because although what your issue may be an easy thing for me, my issue can be the most minuscule thing for you. So in order to have compassion for myself, I got to have compassion for you in order to forgive myself for my shortcomings. You dig what I'm saying? That's how I get around to forgiving myself for my shortcomings and forgiving others, is through understanding that I'm flawed too. So this isn't a bash on Umar's session. Let's make that very clear. We're just using him as a canvas to talk about a bigger issue. The bigger issue is Pan-Africanism. And here's the issue of Pan-Africanism. And I get more and more into this as I go more in depth in my studies, as I'm writing my book right now. So while I'm writing this book right now, music history, I'm learning so many things that I didn't know. It's like you go through to verify your sources and to make sure you're right. I want to make sure I'm historically right, but when I'm going through looking for footnotes and sites and stuff like that, you learn new shit. And when you learn about the magnitude of greatness it took for us to put together our music the way we put it together, and the magnitude of what we've gone through here in America, only for people like Umar to play dumb when we talk about our lineage here. I don't get the FBA thing that we are all Africans. We are all Africans. We are all Africans. And as an African man, we must, like, we, the truth is we don't know. Out of Africa is a theory that has not been proven. The same way of the whole out of the Middle East is a theory. The Asiatic is a theory that hasn't been proven. There are some people who say that we are the oldest land masses in the United States of America and in the Americas. That's a theory. That none of this has been proven definitively to be the one thing of all. We don't know. And when you move around the planet, as you get to different parts of the planet, wherever you are, you're going to grow a relationship with the land that you stand on. And there's more than enough evidence, especially when you think about people like the Olmec, that we're star seeds. I'm more so of the believing of my personal viewpoint on all this is we're all star seeds. We are seeded from different places throughout the universe. Some of us come from the Sirius star system. Some of us, come from, I'm drawing a blank, the Little Dipper, the Pleiades. Some of us come from the Orion star. I believe that we're all seeded throughout this map from other places in this massive universe. And there's a lot of literature to back up out of Africa, there's a lot of literature to back up star seeds, because a lot of your indigenous cultures talk about being star seeds. And different cultures have different stars that they talk about they were seeded from. But even with that, even though that's my belief, I still don't know. And I'm not going to disrespect you just because we got the same skin color and say, I know where you came from because we have the same skin tone. We all come from Africa. We all come from Africa. You come from Africa. Even the white man is an African. Okay? Maybe. I might come from Africa. I'm not going to say I don't. I don't know enough to say I don't. But what I do know is I can trace my lineage on paper back here to at least 1660, 1640. And what I do know is I have marriage records of ancestors that came here and married indigenous Potawatomi, indigenous Cherokee, married and had children with. So if my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, who was in Michigan, who all of his records show he was here in America. Nothing from my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather shows he came from Africa. But okay, we'll roll with it. He was here in America. If it shows in 1805 that he married a native Potawatomi in Michigan and had a child with her, that means that child that he had with her was him and guaranteed that native Potawatomi out of Michigan. And the Potawatomi didn't participate in the slave trade. So I don't want to hear none of you niggas saying, those were Africans who were enslaved. Those were Africans who were enslaved. The Potawatomi, they were in Michigan. They didn't participate in the slave trade. So so at what point am I American? If my bloodline has been here longer than there's been an America of the United States. That's what I do know. And I do know that my people here in America have done unique things. And the more I study it, the more I see how unique it is. I got Melungeons in my family. I got mulattoes in my family. I got octoroons. I got straight up Negroes, just nigga on top of nigga. I got Indians, nigga. I got it all. But the common bond is they're from here. And when it comes to the whole African thing, I've always seen that not always. I didn't always see it as hustle, but it's a lot of it is a hustle. Let's sell you on some shit that you don't quite understand, cause I don't understand it either. Let's sell Wakanda over in Africa when the only Wakanda on earth is Wakanda Springs in Kansas. There's actually a Wakanda in Kansas. Look it up. Wakanda Springs. Look it up. Right in the middle of America. But you're selling me on Wakanda in Africa. But at the same time, the Americans are always the ones footing the bill. That's where my issue comes in. Why is the American always footing the bill in this Pan-African thing? I know a lot of Nigerians and Ghanaians here in LA. And you know what they do with their money? If they either floss it on a bunch of bullshit, or if they're not flossing it, they're sending it back home to Nigeria, to Lagos, to Ghana. They're sending it back there. What are they doing to establish things here? Since this is where they live now, and if we get on some Pan-African shit. These are real questions. These are questions that have to be answered. Why is it Oprah always having to open up a school in Africa? Why is it we have to watch all of these black Americans with means do things in Africa? When if you ever get into an argument with a Nigerian about who's doing better, they're going to tell you the richest black person on earth is from Nigeria. They're going to tell you about the Nigerian billionaires. They're going to tell you about how they have all of their culture and heritage at home, and how they'll talk to you about how Nigerians have the best education. We have the education. Education. We have education. But what are they doing to help the black Americans here? That's Pan-Africanism. It's reciprocal. These are just questions like look at what Trump is doing. Look at what Trump is doing right now with the European, with the white world. He went to Europe and was like, Europe, why are we spending 95 out of every $100 to protect you? You see what Trump is doing right now? Hold on, you guys going to have to pay if you want NATO to exist. If you want to be protected from Russia, you're going to have to kick in. That's what Trump is doing right now with white America. He said, nah, you motherfuckers have been getting a free ride. It's time to pay up. Bismarck said the African version of Pan-Africanism is FBA sending them money to support their tourism. Right. I remember one of my favorite teachers, James Smalls, and he's a true Pan-Africanist, and I learned from a lot of Pan-Africanists. Like I'm still open with Africans, but I'm open when the relationship is equal. I'm open to an equal relationship. Y'all grown ass men. Fuck, we look like always putting something out for you, and you just always having your hands out. Y'all grown. It's not as bad as people defending LeBron James for falling out over his grown ass son. Nigga, that nigga grown. You better make him grow some nuts and stand up, nigga. for yourself. Daddy ain't always gonna be here. That's what my dad taught me. My dad right there. I'm so proud of my father and my dad. They always raised me and look, at some point we ain't gonna be there. You gonna have to figure it out. And when my mom tried to coddle on a little bit too long, my dad was like, man, let the nigga go. He got it. Yeah, even you're right, Seven. Even James Small said we're native to America. But I remember it was a few years ago, before the pandemic, James Smalls had a hotel in Nigeria called the Sana Lodge. And I sent in a few anonymous donations. They weren't big donations. And to tell you the truth, the reason why I sent them in anonymous is because I wanted them to be bigger. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was what I could afford at the time, you know? We're talking 2016, 17, when he had the Sauna Lodge. I sent money into it a few times. And when I never forget how that shit went down. I remember even when the pandemic hit, he went on Brother Richard's channel and he talked about how he needed some more money for it, and I sent it in. And then, like, James Small had said something on his on somebody's show. I don't know whose show it was. But he said that, you know, because I guess they're mad at James Smalls over something Tariq said. And Brother Small said that, hey, look, man, you know, certain people on the continent got to get their act together. And I remember not too much longer after that, I mean, he did another show and he was talking about how, you know, there were people in Africa that were mad at him for saying that. And I was thinking, like, wow, if anybody should have leeway to say anything critical of Africa, it should be Brother James Smalls. Because he's been teaching us since the 60s to be Pan-African. And he went so far as to invest his money into it. And the fact that he has to deal with problems from these people over some correction with love. Because I saw he corrected them. He just said some slight correction with love. And when I saw Brother James Smalls had to go through that shit, and he was talking about that, I forgot what show I was watching. I was like, that ain't cool. Are we friends? If we can only be friends when I tell you you're wonderful and beautiful and the Medu Neter and you're where I come from and oh my God, the Mali Kingdom. We can only be friends when I do that. We can't still be friends when I try to correct you. A friend could take correction. And that's what got me really off Pan-Africanism from a distance. When it was a buildup of things. You know, Tariq put things out there in the consciousness when he started asking questions. You know, but you know, but when I saw them around the time of the pandemic, when I saw Brother James Smalls get treated like that, I said, this shit is fake. This is fake. This is bullshit. And that's when I was totally off it. Hit the like button. That's what got me off Pan-Africanism. And then when you saw people like Umar taking shots at Tariq when Tariq first started pushing the FBA thing, a lot of them shots because when Tariq pushed it, he pushed it kind of on his own. You know, he wasn't really taking shots at Umar or anybody else, but then Umar would go on to different TV platforms and always try to down it. What is an FBA? What is an FBA? What is an FBA? FBA is African. They are still Africans. They are still Africans. And as an African, I have to stand up for Africa. And Africa, 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 Africa. At that point, it's like, that comes back to one of the laws of nature. The law of nature is you take care of home first, right? What's basketball fans, quick trivia. And if you criticize me about what I'm going to say about LeBron later on, you better get his answer right. What's the first rule on defense in basketball? Somebody in the chat room tell me the first rule on defense in transition. What is the first rule of basketball while you're in transition on defense? And this is no disrespect to Dr. Umar, but this is, we black, so we got to talk about it. Nope, that's it, Biz Marty. Stop the ball. The first rule on defense is to stop the ball. Before you go and spread out to cover the shooter, before you go hit, you stop the person with the ball. Somebody's coming, James Harden's coming down the middle. You don't flare out to cover Kawhi Leonard in the corner to stop the shot. You focus on James Harden and force him to pass the ball. What's the first, and when it comes to national security, what's the number one threat to any country in America, in the world? Where do empires crumble? From outside forces or where? Or from within? The number one threat to any civilization is internal destabilization. Internal destabilization. What does the rule of sports and the rule of war tell you? The first thing you must take care of is home. That's logic. You take care of home first. You feed your kids before you feed somebody else's kids. You make sure your brother and sister is good before you start entertaining friends and family. You take care of home first. Now your brother or sister's a fucking crackhead and you try 10,000 times, then yes, of course you got to make them figure it out on their own. I'm not talking about that exception. I'm talking about all things equal. So if the first rule is to govern home, and now, okay, let's we're using logic. Now I live here at home. My mom and my dad was from here. My grandparents are from here. Say you don't know your family history. You talked to me 8 years ago, I didn't know all this about my history. But I did know that all four of my grandparents is from here. I knew that. And from what I did know, their great-grandparents is from here. And I know that during that time, my great-grandparents are here, Mr. Foster, Miss Gertie Mae Biggers, because I remember my grandmother always talking about her mom, Gertie Mae Biggers, and Mr. Foster. Yes, she called her dad Mr. Foster. They wasn't talking about Africa. They was talking about Oklahoma. And them living through Black Wall Street in that time. I do know that's a fact. And I do know that during that time, nobody from Africa came to save them. I knew that too. I didn't know my family was been here in America since 1640. Back then. But I knew my grandmama was from here. I knew that. So if I'm gonna let's take that same logic of taking care of home. If I'm going to honor ancestors, if I'm going to focus on ancestors, what ancestors are most likely to have the most power over my current situation? If your parents are gone, my condolences. Luckily, my parents are still here. But if your parents are gone, your parents are probably going to be your most prominent ancestors. My grandparents are all gone now. So for me, all four of my grandparents are my most prominent ancestors. And the ancestors that can relate to what I'm going through when I'm tapping into my music. I don't know what music my African ancestors listen to if I have African ancestors. But I do know that my grandfather liked B.B. King. I do know that my grandmother told me that her father used to like Count Basie, Duke Ellington, T-Bone Walker. I know that my grandmother on my mom's side, who died when she was an infant, I knew that she had a deal to go sing with the Platters, but she died before that happened. And I know that she liked music, and she liked the Drifters, and she liked the Platters, and she liked doo-wop. I know what my ancestors listened to. So, logically speaking, which ancestors have the most power to help me through my current situation? The ancestors I don't know anything about, know what kind of lit music, I don't know what food they ate, I don't know their monetary system, I don't know what music they listen to, or is it going to be the ancestors that were here? Who, me listening to my favorite group rapper growing up is Snoop, Ice Cube. Ice Cube comes from George Clinton. George Clinton comes from Louis Jordan. My grandmama liked Louis Jordan. I'm just speaking logic. Sam Seals, Western Australia, salute to you. I'm just using logic. Which ancestors are most likely to have the most energy and effect on what I got going on here? Use your mind and go to intellectualpower.net. This stuff here keeps your mind sharp. This is mental medicine right here. I don't want to use the word medicine because it's not medicine. This is an herb. Do I know the studies and all that stuff? No, I did not read the studies. I took it myself. And although I'm fairly sharp, I personally notice a difference in my brain. Can't speak for nobody else. But intellectual power, if you probably type in the product code D Brown, you get 10% off. Also, Peace Pads. We also have an event. Well, Reza has an event coming up May 3rd here in LA, in Compton, actually. Free to the community. The link to sign up is in the description. Peace Pads and also Intellectual Power, all in the description of this here video. You dig? Now, I just thought about that because, you know, I'm a lot like my grandmama in that way. The ability to recall information, you know? And my dad. Me and my dad are so much alike. Like, all these people were born, my brother, my sister. Do my sister look... I always call my sister an Indian. I still call her an Indian to this day. Look at this shit. Do my sister look like a goddamn African? My sister's an Indian. Look at that. Look at my dad. Come on now. Look at my mom. And I could trace my mom's roots back 500 years, nigga. My dad only got 200 years so far. These is Americans, homie. These is Americans. When Pocahontas came out, we was clowning the shit out of my sister. We was like, ooh. My sister's hair she ain't never had no perm. My sister's hair go all the way down her back. And her nieces, her daughters, my nieces, oh my God. My niece Madison is 6 feet tall, yo. My niece is 6 feet tall. And she's only 15. And her hair goes all the way down her back. Like, my sister takes 2 to 3 hours to do her hair. I call my sister, what you doing? Oh, I'm doing Madison's hair again. But my sister's husband, I don't know if y'all know, I may have said it before, but my sister's husband is the oldest Ball brother. You know LeVar Ball? He's LeVar Ball's older brother. The Ball family. So my nieces got that Ball blood in them. And they dad, the Ball brothers, they father, he's almost as red as my dad. And they black. They light skinned, but their family is black. And my nieces, one of my nieces is 6 feet, and the other one's like 5'11", 5'10", 5'11", no, 5'9", 5'9", and she's 13 through marriage. Don't ever like. I'm not gonna sit here and act like me and LeVar kick it. No, we don't. I saw him at the wedding. I've seen him a few times down at the Drew League. But yeah, nah, we don't talk like that. I don't bring it up because it's not like I have a relationship with them like that. It's just, but me and my sister are best friends. My sister, my best friend. My sister, my heartbeat. But yeah, my sister, that's my heartbeat right there. I'm gonna stand outside, cause but that's what we're talking about when it comes to Umar. I see a line of behavior right here. Take care of home, and I'm not saying this as an expert. Lord, no, my life ain't perfect. You know, marriage is hard as fuck, dog. Y'all don't understand how hard this shit is. It's just hard. I mean, marriage is not easy, so I'm never about to sit here and be no fucking expert. It's part of the reason why, even though you guys keep asking me to talk more about relationships, I don't, because I don't see myself as an expert. Although people who've done my readings and my counseling, they do. I see myself as a nigga that keep trying. That's why I'm not about. That's why you never see me spend much of my time going around judging people's marriages. You know, I could sit on my high horse and talk about everybody who's single and everybody who's married, and because I'm married, well, that's just corny. Yes, I'm very tall. I'm not very tall, but I'm not as short as people think I am. Put it like that. People be thinking I'm short. People be thinking I'm short because I'm always sitting down. Yeah, I'm tall. I'm over 6 feet tall. Put it like that. I'm taller than my niece. I'll tell you that much. Now the rest of my family ain't, but I am. Salute to